Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Letitia Grant, and I am the president of Women's Council, National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And I am super excited today to present to you our professional women in real estate round table. Guys, this is one of the most interesting topics that I think that we have, and it is how to lead in a male-dominated industry. Should they treat us as equal? Now, in addition to me being excited about this title, I am excited to have my co-host back, Miss Tanya Donaldson.
Well, hello there, everyone. Hello, Letitia. I couldn't wait to get back in this seat. So I'm excited to be back with you. So to your point, I'm especially excited about this particular episode because I think that it's a topic, and I think this is the right time to have these discussions.
Yeah.
And then what I'm most excited about, we get to interview one of my mentors, my sister, this lady right here. Okay, I'm not going to take the introduction, but I can't wait to dive into this conversation.
Of course, we are excited. And I'll tell you what, there is one young lady that kept your virtual seat warm. So I'll have you to know that seat was kept warm by none other than my chair, who did a fantabulous job while you were out. None other than Madam Cassie Stanley.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Madam Latanya, welcome back to your hot seat. I did my very best. I tried to step in and do my best so you would be proud of that seat.
I know. I was extremely proud.
Wonderful. So I'm so excited about the segment today. Overly excited about our guest, Sarita. I'm not going to tell my age to tell you how long I have known Sarita. But it's been a very, very, very long time. And I'm so excited. So I can't wait to hear the questions that you ladies are going to give to her. Hello, Madam Sanina. So good to see you today. So ladies, sit back and relax and enjoy this episode that we're about to bring to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And not only is Latanya our very fantastic co-host, she is also a sponsor. So thank you so very much, Latanya, for being a longtime sponsor and especially a sponsor of professional women in real estate.
Absolutely. Again, I say this time and time again, but the mission definitely aligns with our messaging from Prime Lending and making sure that we see women out front. Okay. And so this, you and I talked even before this, we started doing it. This had been an idea for quite some time. So to see it come to fruition, I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it.
Now, speaking of talk, we had a whole pre-show before the show. So I will let the audience know that you are in for a treat because we had a full pre-show before we went live. And so what I want to do right now is, we can't do this by ourselves. So it is an honor to also introduce none other than our Madam Sanina Ellison Jones, who is our second vice president for Women's Council. I'm sorry, third vice president for Women's Council's National Association of Real Estate Brokers. She's also the chair of the Gen Z Project, and she is here. And as we say, the Exennials say, she is a boss chick as well. So welcome, Madam Sanina, to the stage today.
Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam President, for that warm introduction. I am excited to hear from Madam Sarita. She is, if you've never met her, I will save the stage for her to introduce herself and share more. Good afternoon, Miss Latanya, and I'm excited to share the stage with you ladies.
Good deal. Well, you said you saved the stage for her to introduce herself. I was going to let you do the introductions.
I would love to.
Very good.
Absolutely. So Madam Sarita Battles is the managing director and head of community and affordable lending at JP Morgan Chase and has been there since August of 2020. She has over 32 years of experience in the financial industry, but I'm not going to read her entire bio. It is extensive. She wears many, many hats, but she is a woman of excellence. She is a mother. She is a reverend. She is a servant leader. And can you believe it? She is also a Zumba instructor.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
She actually has time to be a Zumba instructor. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the platform Miss Sarita Battles.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
Thank you, madams, just for all of your comments. And Sanina, thank you so much for the introduction. I am just as excited about today's discussion and just the interview, the topic, so on and so forth. You will get the out the gate authentic Sarita, because again, I'm prepared to be on this call, but not as prepared for the questions. So you're going to get those out the gate thoughts and ideas and insights from me. And I am just excited so that you can see who I am, as a person, as a leader, as a mother, as a reverend, as a daughter, as a friend, as a mentor, whatever it is, just put me in that bucket. And you're going to get all of those thoughts and those ideas and insights from me.
Love it. Love it. Well, we're excited. We're excited to dive right on in.
Yay.
As I'm muted, I'm trying to unmute. So yes, yeah, absolutely. Let's go with the first question. So Sarita, according to Deloitte Insight, the percentage of women leaders in financial services is 24%. And I'm pretty sure African American females make up less than 1/4 of that percentage. So tell me a little bit about your journey to leadership.
Yeah. Actually, the journey started in small beginnings. And so, at the end of the day, I think someone asked me the question here not too long ago is, did you ever think that you would be in leadership as a young girl, one that is African American? And the answer to that question is absolutely, because I was raised by a strong woman who happened to be a single mother for quite some time, at least when I turned 5 years old. And so that's all I saw was my mom leading in whatever capacity she was in, as a nurse and then as a small business owner. And so with that said, my journey again came from small beginnings, a small town in St. Augustine, Florida. Who would have thought? Oldest city in the US, by the way. And so again, and it's a beautiful city, but again, it's a small town. And then being able to come out of that level of environment, go to college, obviously, and had an opportunity to go to the University of Florida, go Gators, but I did not graduate, amen, from the University of Florida. And so, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And
Yeah.
so I had a great time at the University of Florida for 3 whole years. And look, got some experiences and can tell you a lot of different things about the University of Florida. But the great thing is I didn't stop there. And so although I had to take a different route and I had to begin working and doing those types of things, I fell back on what I was used to, and that was work. And then the other thing was I always wanted to work in the financial industry. And so I've always been able to watch my parents when they would go to the bank, how one would feel when they walked out of the bank. Sometimes the banks or the bankers had the opportunity to make my parents feel real good and at times real bad. And I wanted to be one that was in that space of influence. So I started out as a teller in the industry. And so I have worked my way up, making sure that I remember the roles or the responsibilities that I have in the roles that I've been given. And so as a teller, which was probably one of my best jobs, actually, because it's the one that I really, really wanted and always dreamed about. But started off as a teller, worked my way up to a personal banker, from a personal banker into small business, making sure that, and it's funny that we even think about it today, that different small businesses leverage credit cards as a form of payment. Today, we don't even get by without doing that. But that was a role that I had. And from there, I figured I would test the waters in the mortgage industry and started off as a loan officer. And not one that was in the street, one that was on the phone. And for Merrill Lynch, which was high end. And so that was an area where, Lord have mercy. That was one of those roles where it was difficult, but at the same time, I learned so much about how to build relationships, the things that you needed to know from a mortgage perspective, so on and so forth. And from there, I just started doing things that nobody else wanted to do. I
Hmm.
went over and came and from Merrill Lynch, went over to JP Morgan Chase. And at that time, I went over to be an underwriter, but they had other things in mind, and they told me that you're going to be our writer, so we need a
Mm-hmm.
writer. And I don't know what they got out of me that said, okay, this would be a good
Yeah.
writer for us. But I wrote their policies and procedures
Wow.
for correspondent and for wholesale business, and
Mm-hmm.
that turned into just an opportunity for me to get into product development and manage some projects that other people did not want to do. And this particular project that I managed was a project around creating products and programs for minorities, particularly Asians and Hispanics. And so again, that work turned into a business for JP Morgan Chase. And as a result of that, for the last 24 years of my 31 years in the finance industry, the last 24, 25 years has been dedicated to mortgage, minority, and low to moderate income lending. And I have grown up in this space. So when
Yeah.
Madam Cassie said that she's known me for a long time, let me go back and let you know it's been for 18 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
That we have worked in this space, and I have grown up in the industry doing what was expected of me,
Mm-hmm.
not always focusing on where I'm going, but what I'm being asked to do. And
Yeah.
as a result of
Mhm.
that, I've been growing, and
Yeah.
within the industry. And so again, it's not for anything but, and I would say hard work, but I would say smart work,
Yes.
and then making sure that I am doing what I've been asked to do. And the other thing I would say is to make the jobs bigger than it's designed to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. You know, first of all, before you started throwing out all of those numbers, I was going to say, how was this lady able to accomplish all of this in such a short lifespan? Then you hit us with the 31. Then you hit us
Yeah.
with the 18. So, okay, okay, I get it. But there are so many nuggets that you dropped in just that statement. One of
Mm-hmm.
them being doing those things that others wouldn't. Another thing is looking at what it is that you're being asked to do. You know, so often we come in and we're doing stuff and we're kind of looking at it from our perspective and what we're set to gain from it. So, those are just all of those are just such
Mm-hmm.
nuggets.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about time frame and age, for
Mhm.
centuries, this has been the conversation. Can women lead as effectively as men? And that is a powerful question, and it's a powerful statement, and honestly, it's kind of offensive as well. But I would like to hear your take on, can women lead as effectively as a man?
Absolutely. I would say that we have the ability to do it. We have to believe in ourselves. So we got to know our value and our worth first. And so that's first and foremost. And we have to not look for validation from the men, because I think oftentimes we go into these roles and we look to assimilate or be like. And in actuality, we need to be our own authentic
Mm-hmm.
selves. It took me time to get to that space, but I would also say that that is the one quality that we bring to the table, is the ability to build relationships, the ability to look at things in a different light. Oftentimes, I like to say we're emotional creatures, but we bring that level of skill set. I look at it as a skill set to the table, because we're able to know the importance of building those relationships. We don't give up easily as
No.
women. And so I often tell my leaders, oftentimes when they'll come to me and they'll say things like, will you have the ability to do this? Or don't get offended by this. And I'm always telling them I'm a bulldog. So just because you said I couldn't, or somebody said I couldn't or wouldn't, doesn't mean a thing to me, because I'm
That's
still going to come at it,
that's
because I have a job to do. So I think, when you think about, our capabilities, we got to leverage what's within us to make a difference, in the work that we do, in the communities that we have influence over. And I think oftentimes we back up off of that because we're looking for somebody else to validate us. And
Mhm.
then we're also looking to assimilate, to be like, versus
Mhm.
just being our own selves. I often say, and I said this morning to someone, because I have to remind myself oftentimes, because you guys know I'm a reverend, but
Mhm.
at the same time, I have to remind myself who I am and whose I am. I have to remember those things.
Yep.
And then I also have to remember that validation is not what some man or woman gives to me. Validation was already determined or predetermined before I even got here. And so
Mhm.
once I understand that, then you realize, and I had a sermon at one point, and I think the title of the sermon is "I'm a bloom whether you water me or not." So at the end of
Mm,
the day, you don't bloom. I mean, that's
Yes.
just straight up. I mean, and once you realize that, then you begin to operate in the
Mhm.
knowledge that I've already been given the tools, the resources. God has already equipped us with what we
That's
need.
right.
We just got to walk in it and be courageous
yep.
in that space. And that, to me, that's it. The minute we realize that, that's when we start to make differences. That's when we start to make impact. Is when
Mhm.
we realize who we are and whose we are.
You know what? I just went on and changed my Facebook title. every young woman, I urge them to tune in now, like right now.
Yeah.
These messages are extremely powerful, not whose we are. Come on now. I mean, you can't get any better than that.
That's
So
right.
many times I'm looking on social media and people are talking about how this person's hating on them and this
Mhm.
person's trying to prevent them from being great. They have no role. They play no role in whom you will become.
Absolutely.
No,
That's right.
they do not.
Because you're allowing that. And
Yeah.
I'll add one more, Sarita. We are wonderfully made. That's
Yeah.
that's my favorite because
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to remind myself of that every day. I think one of the what helped to solidify my relationship with Sarita is that we have a very similar background. There are a lot of similarities, so we were able to really connect with one another. And you just hit the nail on the head. And I think also we have to have like a village of other strong women like us that's because here's the deal. Sometimes we forget we're wonderfully made,
That's
depending
true.
on what happened during that day. Maybe because as strong as we are, we do allow the enemy or another person to, as you just said, Letitia, to kind of put some doubt in us, because you got to remember at the end of the day, we're all human. So that's why I think it's very important to cultivate relationships with other strong women and women who want to see you excel.
Yes.
Exactly.
The thing that
Exactly.
I want to see, especially more women of color, is
Mhm.
that we unite and we
Yeah.
come together and we
Yes.
support one another and we are
Yes.
genuinely on the sideline,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
we're cheering that sister on. Because just because you don't have your promotion at that time, it doesn't mean that you won't get where you're going. So, oh my God. See, you said we're going to be organic, and I knew.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's
And
what
I
our
know,
audience is
Sabrina, when
looking
you
for.
said we don't give up, we don't give up, and we don't. We don't give up. We have the challenges, but we may fall down, but we get back up
Get
and
back
we
up.
join the fight again.
Mhm.
So,
And I think
Serena,
that
on
the
that,
other thing too is remembering that, when God made us, He called us His masterpiece.
mm,
That's
And
right.
so at the end of the day, if we don't believe what God said about us and He created us,
That's
how
right.
are we to believe what somebody else is going to say about us? Because
you
people
know,
are going to talk. I
yeah,
think those are the things that keep us on our knees, so that we are often reminded that we serve a sovereign God who either causes things to happen or allows things to happen. So at the end of the day, I always ask myself, come with it. Come, I mean, bring
That's
it
it.
on. Because
Bring it.
at the end of the day, look, God has already equipped, prepared. I mean, I have everything that I need. And He
That's
said He
right.
would never leave us nor forsake us. And so oftentimes we just don't spend enough time, number one, in prayer, because when you get into these leadership roles, when God has blessed you, that don't mean that you fall back and you stop praying. right?
That's
And
right.
so
That's
at the
right.
end of the day, you got to still keep in the forefront of your mind who you're serving. Because one thing there, I always say, two things God asks us to do: love Him and love others. And
That's
in
right.
that love, we will serve others. So when we are in the service industry, the way that we are today, we have to stay on the forefront or keep God on the forefront of
That's
everything that
right.
we have to do, because
Absolutely.
He's the one that ordains all of this, not us.
You
Not
know,
us.
absolutely. I can remember when Michelle Obama came out with her book that I'm sure we all have a copy of Becoming.
Hmm.
You know, the thing that popped in my mind when you talk about believing who he said we were.
Yes.
I realized that I had some work in unbecoming. I
Yes.
had to unbecome those things that through life experiences I had told myself. I had allowed someone else to tell me. So
Hmm.
I think before on our path to becoming, unbecoming is a part of that. That's necessary work, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
It's very easy to well, I read this one day and it sticks with me. There's no difference between me or any young lady on this call today. Any other, I'm surrounded by esteemed women today.
Mhm.
The only difference when you have someone and they're saying, well, it was easy for you. No, there's only one difference between me and you. I believe so. I chose to believe something you wouldn't. So
That's
Yes.
with
right.
that,
Very good. Very good.
Yes. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes. So
And you
Sarita,
started. And you started,
That's
yes,
right.
right?
that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, on every platform, we are asked to discuss the challenges of being a leader, becoming a leader. For this one, I want to take a different route. We all know there are challenges. So, I wanted to discuss preparation. Knowing you were a minority, color, and gender, right? What did you do to prepare yourself for your leadership role?
Mhm. Here's the thing, and it's so funny. When I go into roles or when I've moved in my journey, I never took the approach of looking at what other people saw, right? So from a standpoint of, I mean, you're born, you're black. I mean, and you got to get up every morning and you got to go and you got to make things happen.
Hmm.
So from that perspective, I never went into a role thinking about what I was representing. Um, and I think that's for purpose, because I think sometimes when you go into roles and you put that first and foremost, you think more about the barriers than you think about the opportunity. And so I never thought about it as a barrier. I always thought
Yeah.
about myself as an opportunity, as an asset
Yes.
to a particular role. And so, again, that's how I've always approached it. My prep work with respect to roles is, and I'll say this, in the beginning, it was always a little bit of what somebody else thought I could do. So I wanted to become a teller and I became a teller. From that point on, it was like somebody else coming to me and saying, I think you'll be a good personal banker. So I went that route. I think you'll be a good this. And I went that route. And it was always about what somebody else wanted me to become. The moment I moved into leadership, it was about the alignment with me and who I am as a person. And so the
Mhm.
moment I moved into a leadership role where I had to manage people, all of those different things, it was necessary for me to make sure that the role and the company aligned with who I am and what
Hmm.
I stand for. I would say this last stint for me, coming in, coming to JP Morgan Chase, what was important, and I came back home, by the way, but what was important to me is that I didn't have to leave where I was. I would say I was pretty happy. Compensation wise, I was in a good space. And so when they sought to recruit me, it was necessary for me to ask them some questions. And
Okay.
Mm.
not the
Very
standard
good.
question, but some questions like, I see that you're recruiting me. It's in 2020. You say you want to make impact in minority communities, but is this about George Floyd?
Yes.
Is
Okay.
this about, I mean, so are we
Yeah,
serious in this space? Are we looking
that's
to make
right.
long term um, productivity? Are we looking at this from a long-term sustainable standpoint? Or are
That's
we
right.
just looking at this for right now? Because what's going to
Mhm.
happen is they're going to stop showing George Floyd. I don't remember the
Exactly.
last time I saw that.
That is
And
correct.
Mhm.
so the minute they stop showing that,
Hmm.
then you're going to forget about it.
Yes.
Right. And so when you forget about it, are you going to forget about why you hired me
Exactly.
and what you
Very
said
good.
your plight was? And so
Yep.
it was necessary for me to ask that question. But more importantly, it was also necessary for the person I was talking to, which was the CEO of the organization, to say, you know what, that's a good question. Several good questions. Let me get back to you.
Mhm.
So I didn't get a canned answer. I
That's
got
right.
somebody that went back and said, this is the question that she's asking. Are we for real? Are we serious?
Exactly.
And it
Very
didn't stop within that organization. He took that to the CEO of Chase. He went to Jamie. And so
Yeah.
to come back to me and say, I'm going to call you on Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to let you know whether or not we're serious. And if we're not, stay where you are and make significant impact. But if we are, be ready to come here. And what happened was he called me back at 10 a.m. and said, I hope you're ready to come on over.
You
And
know
so,
what, Sarita, and before you go to your next point, I want you to understand how important that question, that one question that you asked, is to the community that we serve. You're looking at
right.
it from one standpoint, and for us, when we're working with the buyers, because Chase had been in our market, and then
yes,
Mhm.
they abandoned us,
yes,
right? But for the community that we serve, those of us, those individuals that are watching us right now on social media, for them to know that you in your leadership position
Yes.
ask the very same question that we're having to then communicate to them, that proves and shows that you're not only there for yourself, but you're there to protect these individuals as well. So
absolutely.
I am
Yes.
grateful for that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because we need that level of encouragement, even from our own communities. Do you
Right.
think I feel comfortable going out there when I know we've been in and out of the market? I mean, so I
Mhm.
got to make sure that when I go out and I represent this firm, because that's who I represent. And again, I represent the firm, but first and foremost, I represent God. But at the
Right.
same time, when you're out there representing a firm, I want to go out there with full confidence that we can serve this community and serve it well. And I'm not
Absolutely.
going to go out there just because they pay me some money, because
That's
money
right.
comes and money goes.
That's
But
That's
what
right.
right.
I am going to do is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to represent, regardless of the money that they pay me. That's just because I know that they can make the impact that they're seeking to make. And if I can come into an organization, ask those types of questions, and they not get scared,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they allow me to be who I am, the Reverend,
Yeah.
the Sarita
Very
that's
good.
been in the business for 24, 25 years, the
Yeah.
Sarita that used to work here and now she's back, the
Yeah.
Sarita that worked at the competitor across the street that they have a commitment and they got this going on, the Sarita that's in your face. That's the
Mhm.
person that they hire. And oftentimes I kept saying to myself, are they ready for me? Because
Yeah.
at 50 something years old today, you know what? I'm not in this thing. It's really not about money. It's about legacy for me.
That's
That's
right.
true.
And
That's
so
very
I
good.
don't want to leave a legacy that says that she assimilated. I
Yeah.
don't want to leave a legacy that says, you know what, she did what the people told her to do. I don't
Mhm.
want to leave a legacy that says that when she had an opportunity, right, she didn't. She didn't start. She didn't ask questions. I don't want to leave a legacy where somebody says, you know what, she wasn't even courageous in her conversation. I don't
And
want to leave that kind of legacy. I want
Yeah.
Madam
to leave
Sarita,
a legacy where somebody is, you know what, that's impactful, where people can say, through her, I am or I will.
yes.
And Sarita, when you say that, and I was sitting over here giggling
Mm,
because when I was interviewed, my story almost verbatim. I was sitting
wow.
there in a room full of men, one being the CEO, and I turned around and asked the same question. So why are we doing this? You tell me why this is important to the company. Is this something? Is this a box that you need to check? What I found that that does, you're already setting up some accountability to
Yeah,
you, as you should, right?
yeah,
Because again, we're talking about my life.
that's right.
We're
Right.
talking about my livelihood. So What now? Also, we have to, and you know this, in the roles that we're in, we have to be realistic. This is not going to happen overnight. But
That's
see,
right.
really, I just need to gauge where your heart is. Where
Yes.
is your heart on this? See, now we can roll up our sleeves and we can go to work,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
we can make true, we can create true impact,
Yes.
through service in our communities.
Yes.
So,
What
yes.
when I hear Madam Sarita speak, I heard one word come to mind repeatedly, and that's value.
Mm-hmm.
You had the courage to speak truth to power.
Yes.
You had the courage to ask the questions that needed to be asked, and you didn't come to the table with the mindset of thank you, as if they're doing you a favor.
That's right.
You came to the table with the mindset that I am an asset.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What I bring to the table is valuable. And
That's
so
right.
that leads me to our last question before we wrap up. In the mindset of a young Sarita Battles, having been a teller and a banker and an underwriter and all of these things, and up to the point where you are now the head of lending, what was your driving force? Like, what kept you motivated? What kept you going? How did you sustain?
You know, what's interesting is I think initially it was all, well, let me see, and this probably gets me, kind of in a tear mode. But I can remember when I think it was seventh or eighth grade. It had to be eighth grade. So I had to be 13. When I was 13 years old, I remember walking out of a classroom and three Black women teachers say, she ain't gonna never be nothing.
Wow.
And I still remember it to this day. And as a result of that, that has always been in the backdrop of I'm going to show them that I
Mm-hmm.
am going to be something. Now,
Mm-hmm.
where that came from three adult women, it could have been something about my mother. It could have been something about what I don't know what it is, but that's the thing that fueled me. The thing that keeps me going today is I have a daughter, and my daughter has to represent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, therefore, I am building legacy. She might not see me all the time, but it's important that I tell her, mommy has to travel. And the reason mommy has to travel is to do this. So let's set up the calendar so that you can see when mommy is in and when mommy is out. That's why I have to have a husband that can step up and be mama and daddy when I'm not here, so that I can come back and my daughter can look at me and say what she did. You're my inspiration. Because at the end of the day, that my inspiration is my mom. She didn't throw in the towel when she was battered. She didn't do
Mm-hmm.
that. She didn't throw in the towel when her ex-husband didn't want her to pursue a nursing career. She didn't throw in the
Mm-hmm.
towel. She fought him and she went to school.
Very
She didn't
good.
throw in the towel. When she started her own business, she didn't throw in the towel because she had two girls, right? And then she got remarried again and still held it down for everybody in the family. That's
Yes.
what I got representing me. And that's what I have to continue to represent. So to me, the thing that fuels me the most today is I got to create legacy, not only for my daughter, but for every other Black woman, every little other Black girl that comes from a small town that somebody told them they weren't going to be nothing.
Very good.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
women
Absolutely.
are powerful change agents, as we can
Yes,
see.
Yeah.
And what I love about what I'm hearing on this call is they unleashed your potential.
yes, they
Yes.
did.
When they told
Yes,
you what you couldn't be, when they told you what you
Love it.
couldn't be, they unleashed your potential. And the topic today is should they treat us as their equals? And I already know, we all know the answer to that question.
yes,
But if
yes.
you could have it your way, what would you imagine or envision the workplace looking like today for a young lady who's hearing this podcast, who's coming up the ranks, who's trying to find her place and trying to find her voice in corporate America or wherever it is that she's trying to work, even entrepreneurship? What do you envision that looking like now for women in the workplace?
Mhm. First of all, I would want to see more women of color, in the
Very
workplace
good.
at every level, because we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be leaders to lead, right? We
That's
don't have
right.
to be, we don't need the title to show up in character. We don't
That's
need that, right? And so at the end of the day, just for every woman, and even those women of color, to be able to look at the roles that they're in and find a way to lead in that role. That's the start. The second thing, and I would say probably even the first thing, is like, again, understand your value and your worth. We
That's
wrap it up in somebody else's comments about us. If I would have sat down on what those ladies said about me when I was 13 years old, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so be thankful when people talk about you, right?
Yes.
Because again, when they talk about you, that's fueling
that's right.
everything that God intended for you to hear that, know that, so that you can become who he called you to
Who
be.
he called you to be.
And I'm and I'll say this. This is the other thing that I would say. Um, we can't walk into this space given the environment that we have today. I would not suggest that we walk into our space today feeling privileged,
Mm,
All
because
right.
privilege unchecked leads to oppression.
yeah.
And there are times where we can keep our own selves down and others that look like us down.
Yes.
The thing that we have to be mindful of is recognizing that God has given us a job to do, because promotion comes from him, doesn't come
Yes.
from anybody else. There are still some people looking at me today saying, how in the world did she get there? That's because God promotes, and favor is not fair.
That's
That's
right.
right.
And so when we align ourselves to what God intended for us to do and be, then promotion comes along with everything
Yes.
else that goes with it. And at the end of the day, we cannot forget that we were called to be servant leaders.
That's
Yes.
it.
Right?
Yep.
That's it. Once you realize that you're in a service industry, and all of the industries of service, everything that we do today, if we're gonna make money, we gotta serve people.
That's
And
That's
right.
so
it.
the one thing that
Right.
we have to be mindful of is that we cannot forget the small step, which is serving others,
Yeah.
the same way that we would serve ourselves. And so just not forgetting those little nuggets, because those little nuggets mean big things when you're
Yes.
growing from a leadership perspective.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, I'm so happy that you mentioned the basically the power of words.
Yes,
Unfortunately, the power of words can send you to excel, or the power of words can send you to feel depleted.
yes,
And there are so many individuals out there that have listened to what someone else has said about them and made that other person's statement true.
yes,
So if no one else says this, I'm going to say it to everybody, our entire audience. You are made to be great.
yes,
You are able to achieve, and you will if your heart desires. We
Mm.
have got to do a better job, as Latanya said, uplifting others and
That's right.
stop trying to tear everybody down. And the thing is, the truth about it is, the reason that you're trying to tear everybody else down is because you don't want to be lonely, because you've already torn yourself apart.
that's
That's
right.
right.
So we
And hurt people hurt people.
That's
hurt
right.
people, exactly, and we've just got to do better at that.
Mhm.
If you feel some kind of way before you leave the house, stay there. And
Love
let
it.
me tell you something. I do not play about my peace, and if you know me, you know I don't play about it. Do
And,
not
and
come
and so
to
true,
me.
Madam President. And one thing I stand on, I don't rent out space in my mind to other people's garbage. My
Yep.
mind is too
Oh,
important
love it.
to have
I'm
that
writing that one
space,
down, Madam Cassie.
That's
Yep.
to
it.
have
I
my
love
space
that.
used. And like like Sarita said, God created us all individually.
That's right.
He anointed us to do everything we needed to do for Him first.
That's
Yep.
right.
But you
And if
know,
you do what you go ahead.
no. I'm sorry, Madam Casey. Go ahead.
Now I was going to say, if you allow God to lead you, you will be successful, just like Sarita said.
That's right.
It's really
That's
not about you. We were put here to make Him look good by
That's
That's
serving
right.
true.
others.
absolutely. Oh, you said a mouthful. And one thing I was going to add, I think one of the worst mistakes that I could make in this life, when I do not have a heart of learning from other people.
That's right.
Because see, God made us relational. See, if I don't, these nuggets that you ladies are giving out today, if I let that pass me by,
Yeah.
then that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've made,
Yeah.
right? So I think the word that comes to my mind is remaining humble.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To
Very
learn,
good.
right?
Yep.
To grow from, because
Yes.
see, you know, that old saying, I'm only as strong as the weakest link. Well, it's truth in that,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, Aretha
Spirit of
said that in
humility.
Chain.
Yes,
Mhm.
she did.
Yep. Yep.
But no, seriously, again, it's just I want to be in the room and I want to learn,
That's
right?
right.
Right.
I want to learn from you.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
That's what
look,
makes me better as a person.
and let
Exactly.
me share, especially on that humble piece of it. You can talk to anybody that knows me, and they're not going to see leader first. They're going to
Mhm.
see a person.
That's
Very
right.
And
good.
and I think that's
I
the
can
one
attest to that.
thing. Yes, that's the one thing that I, first of all, if you're a people person, you're going to always be humble because somebody's going to
Yes.
remind you every day that,
Yes.
you know what, you ain't all that. I mean, it's just real simple. And
Oh,
I think that that is the one thing that I pride myself on. Those that don't know me might hear about my title. Those that know me know my character.
that's
Yes.
And the
right.
thing
Mm,
about it is, as long as that character is intact, title comes.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
the title is not going to dictate how I am, how I serve you, whatever the case may be. It's not going to dictate anything. It is the character, because the character is how people feel. They could
Yes.
care
Yep.
less about your title.
absolutely.
Oh,
You know what,
Absolutely.
ladies?
we've
Guys,
heard a sermon today.
exactly. And I just got a message from our producer saying we may drop off at 45 minutes thereafter. So,
You
you
better
know,
open it up.
speaking of not playing, our producer is going to hold us accountable.
All right.
But this has been one for the heart. This has
Yes,
been
it
one
has.
that we have needed.
Yeah.
This session today has been everything that we need emotionally, that we need spiritually, so that we can continue to be those those boss women that we are in our day-to-day lives and during the day. So I want to thank each of you for being here today on this live broadcast. It has done my heart good. I have written down a few things that I'm going to be taking with me. And I'm
Yes.
so grateful that, the Board of Governors have allowed us to have this platform.
Yeah.
Each
You're
one
very
of
welcome.
these episodes has been everything. So,
Yes.
yes, this is actually episode 5 of series 1. We have one episode remaining, and that episode is the Superwoman Syndrome. And I do believe just about everything that we have said on this call today is a segue into
Yes.
our 6th
Yes.
episode. So we're going to be excited about that one. So those of you that are unfamiliar with our organization, we are Women's Council of National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Our next session will be in 2 weeks. I believe that's June 16th.
Mm-hmm.
On Thursday at 3 p.m. And it is titled The Superwoman Syndrome. And that is leading as ladies all around and us feeling like we have to be everything to everyone.
Mhm.
Thank
Oh,
you.
can't
Thank
wait.
you all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
ladies.
Serena.